I'm Tom. In today's episode, we are going to talk about a deep and difficult book called Maps of Meaning. The author is Jordan Peterson. This book is not a simple book. It is a big book. It talks about stories, psychology, courage, chaos, good, evil, and meaning. But today, we are going to explain the main ideas in easy English. We will not make the language difficult. I will make the ideas clear and slow. The main question of the book is simple but very deep. How do human beings find meaning in life? A meaningful life is not only a comfortable life. It is not only an easy life. It is a life where your actions, your goals, your relationships, and your responsibilities feel important. For example, learning English can have meaning. Why? Because English may help you communicate. It may help you teach. It may help you travel. It may help you work. It may help you understand books, films, and people from other countries. So English is not only a school subject, it can become a bridge to a bigger life. A bridge connects two places. In the same way, meaning connects today's effort to tomorrow's purpose. The book says that human beings do not live only in a world of objects. We do not only see chairs, tables, roads, houses, and trees. We also live in a world of meaning. We see danger. We see hope. We see opportunity. We see failure. We see success. We see love. We see betrayal. We see something as good or bad, useful or dangerous, important or unimportant. This idea is very important. Imagine you see a dog in the street. One person may think, "How cute." Another person may think, "I am afraid." The dog is the same dog, but the meaning is different. One person sees safety and joy. Another person sees danger. So the world we live in is not only physical, it is also emotional and meaningful. This is why the book is called Maps of Meaning. A map helps you move through the world. A normal map shows roads, cities, rivers, and mountains. But a map of meaning shows something different. It shows what matters. It shows what is dangerous. It shows what is valuable. It shows where you should go. It shows what you should avoid. Every person has a map of meaning inside their mind. This map tells you this is important, this is not important, this is safe, this is dangerous, this is good, this is bad, this is worth doing, and this is not worth doing. Some maps are helpful. Some maps are not helpful. Some maps help people become stronger, wiser, and more responsible. Some maps make people afraid, angry, confused, or lost. For example, one person may have this map: mistakes are terrible. If I make a mistake, I am a failure. This map creates fear. It makes learning difficult. Another person may have a better map. Mistakes are part of learning. If I make a mistake, I can improve. This map creates courage. It makes learning possible. Same situation, different map, different life. This is very important for English learners. If your map says, "My English must be perfect before I speak," you may stay silent for years. But if your map says, "Speaking with mistakes is how I can improve," you will practice more. Your map changes your action. So the book asks us to look at the maps inside us. What do we believe? What do we fear? What do we value? What story are we living inside? Peterson says that stories are extremely important because stories teach us maps of meaning. A story shows a person facing a problem. The person goes into the unknown. The person meets danger. The person learns something. The person changes. Then the person comes back stronger. This story pattern appears again and again in human history. It appears in religion, fairy tales, films, books, and personal life. Why? Because human life often has this shape. You are in a familiar place. Then problems appear. The problems take you into the unknown. You feel fear. You face difficulty. You learn. You change. Then you return with new knowledge. This is the pattern of growth. For English learning, it is the same. At first, your first language is familiar. English is unknown. You feel uncomfortable. You make mistakes. You do not understand everything. But if you face the unknown, slowly you learn. Slowly your world becomes bigger. This is meaningful. The unknown is scary, but it is also where growth lives. So, the first big idea of this book is this: human beings need meaning. We need more than comfort. We need direction. We need values. We need a map. Without a map, life becomes confusing. With a better map, we can move through life with more courage. A good map does not remove all suffering. Life is still difficult, but a good map helps you know where to go. It helps you carry difficulty. It helps you understand why your actions matter. So today, as we begin, remember this simple idea. You are not only living in a world of things, you are living in a world of meaning. And the map inside your mind shapes the way you live. One of the most important ideas in the book, Maps of Meaning, is the idea of order and chaos. These two words are very important in Jordan Peterson's work. Order means the known world. It means the place where things make sense. It is your routine, your home, your habits, your language, your culture, your rules, your familiar people, your families. Order feels safe because you know what to do. For example, if you wake up in your own room, you know where everything is. You know where the door is. You know where your clothes are. You know how to make tea or coffee. This is order. Chaos means the unknown world. It means the place where things are not clear. It is surprise, confusion, change, danger, new information, new problems, new people, new places, and new ideas. Change can feel scary because you do not know what will happen. For example, imagine you move to a new country. You do not know the streets. You do not know the system. Maybe you do not know the language well. Everything feels uncertain. This is chaos. But Peterson does not say order is always good and chaos is always bad. Both are necessary. Too much chaos is dangerous. If everything is unknown, you feel lost. You cannot function. You become anxious. You do not know what to do. But too much order is also dangerous. If everything is fixed, nothing grows. There is no adventure, no learning, no creativity, no new life. You become trapped in old habits. A good life needs both. You need enough order to feel stable. You need enough chaos to grow. This idea is very useful for English learners. Your current English level is your order. It is what you already know. The words you know. The sentences you can say. The topics you understand. This feels safe. But the next level of English is chaos. New words, fast listening, real conversations, more complex sentences, and speaking with mistakes. This can feel scary. If you stay only in order, you do not grow. You repeat the same easy sentences again and again. You feel safe, but your English stays the same. If you jump too far into chaos, you feel lost. You watch a very difficult film and understand almost nothing. So you feel bad and you stop. So the best place to learn is the edge between order and chaos. The edge means the border. You know enough to understand, but there is still something new. You feel a little challenged, but not destroyed. You feel curious, not completely lost. This is the learning zone. For example, a good English podcast for beginning level learners should be clear enough to understand, but rich enough to teach you new phrases. It should repeat ideas. It should explain words. It should help you enter the unknown slowly. This is how you grow. So, order gives you safety. Chaos gives you learning. The same idea applies to life. If you never face new problems, you do not become stronger. If you never leave your comfort zone, you do not discover what you can become. But you enter too much chaos too quickly, you may become overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means there is too much and you cannot handle it. So, wisdom means finding the right amount of challenge. Not zero challenge, not impossible challenge, not impossible challenge, the right challenge. Peterson connects this idea to old stories. In many stories, the hero begins in a known place. Then something strange happens. The hero must leave home and enter the unknown. There may be a forest, a desert, a sea, a monster, or a dark place. These are symbols of chaos. A symbol is something that represents a deeper idea. The monster is not only a monster, it represents fear. It shows fear. It represents danger. It shows danger. It represents the unknown problem that must be faced. When the hero faces the monster, the hero changes. The hero learns. The hero becomes stronger. Then the hero can bring something valuable back to the community. This is a story about growth. In real life, your monster may not be a dragon. Your monster may be fear of speaking, fear of failure, fear of truth, fear of responsibility, fear of change, fear of being judged. If you avoid the monster forever, your life becomes smaller. If you face it wisely, you grow. For English learners, the monster may be conversation. You may avoid speaking because you feel afraid. But if you practice in small, safe ways, you slowly become stronger. You do not need to fight the biggest monster first. Start with a small one. Speak for 1 minute. Repeat one sentence. Ask one question. Record your voice. This is how you enter chaos without being destroyed by it. Small courage, small challenge, small growth. The book teaches that meaning appears when we stand between order and chaos. We are not only safe and we are not completely lost. We are moving towards something valuable. We are learning. We are becoming stronger. This is why meaningful tasks are often difficult. They ask us to leave comfort, but not without purpose. Learning English is meaningful because it takes you beyond your current world. It brings some chaos, but also new order. At first, English is unknown. Later, it becomes part of your known world. Your map becomes bigger. This is beautiful. The unknown becomes known. Chaos becomes order. Then new chaos appears, and then you grow again. So the lesson of this part of the book is simple. Life moves between order and chaos. Order gives safety. Chaos brings danger, but also possibility. Growth happens when you enter the unknown carefully, with courage and attention. So do not stay forever in comfort. Do not jump blindly into confusion. Stand at the edge. Learn there. Grow there. That is where meaning often begins. Okay, another big idea in Maps of Meaning is that stories are not only entertainment. Stories are maps for life. This is a very deep idea, but we can explain it simply in easy English. A story shows us how to act in the world. A story shows us what is valuable. A story shows us what is dangerous. A story shows us what happens when people are brave, honest, selfish, jealous, responsible, or weak. For thousands of years, human beings have told stories around fires, in families, in religions, in books, in theaters, in films, in songs. Why? Because stories help people remember important lessons. A rule can be forgotten, but a story stays in the mind. For example, if someone says, "Be careful with pride," you may forget. But if you hear a story about a proud king who loses everything, you remember. The story gives emotion to the lesson. Stories teach through emotion. They show, not only tell. Peterson explains that old stories often contain deep human pattern. For example, many stories have a hero. The hero faces danger. The hero enters the unknown. The hero suffers, the hero learns, and the hero brings back something valuable. This is not random. This pattern appears again and again because human beings often live this pattern. We face problems. We enter the unknown. We suffer. We learn. We return stronger. This is the map of growth. For English learners, stories are especially powerful because they help language become meaningful. You do not only learn words, you see words inside action. You see people wanting, choosing, failing, learning, and changing. This makes vocabulary easier to remember. For example, if you only memorize the word courage, maybe you forget it. But if you hear a story about a person who is afraid but speaks anyway, you understand courage. You feel it. You remember it. Stories make abstract words real. Abstract means something you cannot touch, like courage, fear, hope, responsibility, and meaning. This is why learning English through stories, book summaries, and real life situations can be very effective. Your brain loves meaning. It remembers language better when language is connected to emotion and story. In Maps of Meaning, Peterson also talks about how stories show us good and evil. Good means what supports life, growth, truth, and responsibility. Evil means what destroys, lies, betrays, and makes life worse. These are big ideas, but stories help us understand them. A story may show a character who lies. At first, the lie seems useful. The character avoids pain. But later, the lie creates chaos. Trust is broken. Relationships suffer. The world becomes darker. The story teaches that lies create problems. Another story may show a character who tells the truth, even when it is difficult. At first, it hurts, but later, life becomes easier. Relationships become stronger. The person becomes more real. The story teaches that truth brings order. Of course, real life is complicated. Truth can be painful. People may react badly, but the general lesson is powerful. If we build life on lines, the map becomes broken. We cannot move well in the world because we are not seeing clearly. This is very important in learning too. If you lie to yourself, you cannot improve. If you say, I practice English every day, but you do not, your map is wrong. If you say, my problem is grammar, but your real problem is speaking fear, your map is wrong. If you say, I cannot improve, when the truth is, I have not practiced in the right way, your map is wrong. A wrong map leads you to the wrong place. A better map begins with honesty. Stories also teach us that small actions are important. They matter. A character makes one choice, then another, and then another. Slowly, the story changes. Life is like that too. Your future is not built by one giant moment only. It is built by repeated choices. For English learners, the story you live may be this. I am someone who is afraid of speaking, but I am learning to speak anyway. That is a good story. Or, I used to avoid English, but now I practice a little every day. That is a growth story. Or, I make mistakes, but I use them to improve. This one is a strong story. So the story you tell yourself matters because it guides your behavior. If your story is, I always fail, you may stop. If your story is, I can learn slowly, you may continue. So ask yourself, what story am I living inside? Is it a story of fear? Is it a story of shame? Is it a story of responsibility? Is it a story of growth? You can change your story by changing your actions. You do not need to pretend. You do not need to say, I'm perfect. You can say, I'm becoming better through practice. That is honest and hopeful. So, the lesson of this part is simple. Stories are maps for life. They teach us what matters. They show us danger, courage, truth, lies, responsibility, and growth. They help us understand ourselves. Learn from good stories. Tell yourself a better story. Then act in a way that makes that story true. One of the central ideas in maps of meaning is the hero. The hero is not only a strong person in a film, the hero is a symbol. The hero represents the part of us that can face the unknown. In many old stories, the hero leaves the familiar world. The hero enters a dangerous place, maybe a forest, a cave, a desert, a sea, a dark kingdom. The hero meets a monster or a problem. The hero suffers, but the hero learns. Then the hero returns with something valuable. This pattern is everywhere because it shows how human beings grow. Growth begins when something goes wrong and something unknown appears. Maybe your old way of living stops working. Maybe you face a problem. Maybe you feel called to change. Maybe life forces you into a new situation. At first, you may feel fear. Fear is normal because the unknown is uncertain. But the hero does not avoid the unknown forever. The hero enters it, not stupidly, not blindly, but courageously. Courage does not mean you feel no fear. Courage means you move forward while feeling fear. This is very important for English learners. Speaking English may feel like the unknown. You may not know if your sentence is correct. You may not know if people will understand. You may not know if you will forget words. You may not know if you will feel embarrassed. This fear is real. But if you avoid speaking forever, your world stays small. If you face speaking in small steps, you grow. The hero's journey for an English learner can be very simple. First, you stay in safety. You only listen. You only read. You avoid speaking. Then you decide to enter the unknown. You speak one sentence. You answer one question. You record your voice. You join a simple conversation. At first, it is difficult. You make mistakes. You feel nervous. You want to stop. But then you learn. You realize mistakes do not destroy you. You realize you can communicate with simple words. You realize you can try again. Then you return stronger. Speaking becomes a little less scary. Your confidence grows. This is heroic in a small but real way. A hero is not someone who never feels weak. A hero is someone who faces what must be faced. In Peterson's book, the unknown is often connected with chaos. Chaos contains danger, but also treasure. Treasure means something valuable. In stories, the hero may find gold, wisdom, medicine, a lost person, or a secret. In real life, the treasure may be knowledge, confidence, skill, truth, or maturity. The thing you need is often hidden in the place you avoid. This is a powerful sentence. Let me say that again. The thing you need is often hidden in the place you avoid. If you avoid speaking, confidence may be hidden there. If you avoid feedback, improvement may be hidden there. If you avoid responsibility, meaning may be hidden there. If you avoid truth, freedom may be hidden there. This does not mean you should throw yourself into danger. It means you should look at what you are avoiding and ask, is there something valuable there? For English learners, maybe you avoid listening to your own voice. But if you record yourself and listen, you find useful feedback. Maybe you avoid real conversation. But if you try a short conversation, you find useful feedback. You find confidence. Maybe you avoid difficult vocabulary. But if you learn phrases in context, you find new expressions. The monster guards the treasure. This is a story idea. The monster is the fear. The treasure is the growth. The hero must become stronger to get the treasure. Now, another part of the hero idea is sacrifice. Sacrifice means giving up something to get something more important. In stories, the hero may give up comfort, safety, or childishness. In real life, we also need sacrifice. If you want better English, you may need to sacrifice some phone time. If you want better health, you may need to sacrifice some comfort. If you want deep skill, you may need to sacrifice distraction. If you want truth, you may need to sacrifice the easy lie. Sacrifice is not always negative. It is choosing the higher value. For example, you give up 10 minutes of scrolling so you can listen to English. That is a small sacrifice. But repeat it daily, it creates a better future. The hero chooses a difficult, meaningful path over the easy, empty path. This is one of the big lessons of the book. Life will give you difficulty anyway. You cannot avoid all suffering. So choose a difficulty that has meaning. Learning English may be difficult, but it is meaningful. Building a skill is difficult, but meaningful. Telling the truth can be difficult, but meaningful. Taking responsibility is difficult, but meaningful. Meaning makes difficulty bearable. Bearable means you can carry it. So the lesson of this part is simple. The hero faces the unknown. The hero enters chaos, learns, and returns stronger. In your life, the unknown may be speaking English, telling the truth, accepting feedback, or taking responsibility. Do not avoid every difficult thing. Choose the meaningful difficulty. Face it in small steps. And that is how the hero inside you grows. This book also talks about good and evil. These are big words. They can feel heavy. But Peterson uses them because human beings are not only animals trying to survive. We are moral beings. Moral means connected to right and wrong. We care about what should happen. We care about truth and lies. We care about trust and betrayal. We care about responsibility and harm. Good and evil are not only ideas in old stories, they are part of human life. Good is connected to what supports life, truth, growth, responsibility, and care. Evil is connected to what destroys, lies, betrays, and creates unnecessary suffering. Unnecessary suffering means pain that did not need to happen. Of course, life includes suffering. Some suffering cannot be avoided. People get sick. People lose things. People fail. People feel fear and sadness. But some suffering comes from lies, avoidance, cruelty, pride, and irresponsibility. The book asks us to take this seriously. Human beings can create good, and human beings can create harm. This means our choices matter. For example, if you tell the truth carefully, you can make life clear. If you lie, you may create confusion. If you take responsibility, you can improve your small part of the world. If you avoid responsibility, problems may grow. If you help someone learn, you create good. If you humiliate someone, you create harm. Small actions matter because they are part of a bigger moral life. This may sound serious, but it is important. For English learners, we can connect this to responsibility. You may not control everything about your language learning. Maybe you do not live in an English-speaking country. Maybe you are busy. Maybe you feel shy. Maybe your past learning was not successful. But you still have responsibility for the next step. You can listen today. You can repeat today. You can speak one sentence today. You can stop lying to yourself about what you avoid. You can build one good habit. Responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means asking, what can I do now? This question gives power. Peterson often connects meaning with responsibility. A meaningful life is not usually the easiest life. It is the life where you carry something important. You care for something. You build something. You protect something. You improve something. A parent carries responsibility for a child. A teacher carries responsibility for students. A learner carries responsibility for practice. A speaker carries responsibility for words. Responsibility can feel heavy, but it gives direction. Without responsibility, life may feel empty. This idea is very useful in a world where people often want comfort above everything. Comfort is not bad. Rest is important. Pleasure is important. But if comfort becomes the highest value, growth becomes difficult. You may avoid hard conversations. You may avoid practice. You may avoid truth. You may avoid anything uncomfortable. Then life may become easier in the short term, but weaker in the long term. Meaning often requires doing something difficult now for something better later. For English learning, this is simple. It is easier to avoid speaking now, but it is better to practice speaking for your future. It is easier to scroll now, but it is better to listen to English for your future. It is easier to say, I'm bad at languages, but it is better to say, I can improve with practice. The meaningful path is often not the easiest path, but it is the path that builds you. The book also warns about resentment. Resentment means deep anger that stays inside. People may become resentful when they suffer and do not see me. They may blame the world. They may become bitter. They may want to hurt others because they feel hurt. This is dangerous. A better response is to ask, what responsibility can I take? What truth can I tell? What small part of life can I improve? What dragon can I face? A dragon is a symbol for great fear or problem. If you faced a dragon, you may find treasure. If you avoid it, the dragon may grow. For English learners, resentment may sound like this. English is impossible. Other people are lucky. I will never improve. This is unfair. Well, these feelings may be understandable, especially if you have struggled. But if you stay there, you lose power. A better path is to ask, what can I practice today? What small change can I make? This brings responsibility back. Good begins with small, truthful action. Not perfect action. Small, truthful action. Maybe you admit, I need to practice speaking. Then you do 1 minute. Maybe you admit, I did not review vocabulary. Then you review 3 phrases. Maybe you admit, I am afraid of mistakes. Then you make 1 safe mistake and survive it. This is how responsibility becomes practical. So the lesson of this part is simple. Your choices matter. Truth matters. Responsibility matters. Avoidance, lies, and resentment can make life worse. But honest action can make life better. You cannot fix everything, but you can improve 1 small part. And that small part matters. Another important idea in Maps of Meaning is that belief is not only what you say. Belief is also what you do. This is a powerful idea. Many people say they believe something, but their actions show something different. A person may say health is important, but never care for their body. A person may say family is important, but never give time to family. A person may say English is important, but never practice English. So, what do they really believe? The author suggests that your true values are shown in your actions. Values are the things you treat as important. If something is truly valuable to you, you give it attention, time, and energy. This is very useful for self-reflection. Self-reflection means looking honestly at yourself. You can ask, what do my actions show that I value? Do I value growth? Do I value comfort? Do I value truth? Do I value distraction? Do I value learning? Do I value approval? Do I value responsibility? This question can be uncomfortable, but useful. For English learners, you can ask, if I say English is important, is it present? Do I listen? Do I speak? Do I review? Or is English only a dream in my mind? This is not to create shame. It is to create clarity. Clarity helps change. Attention is also connected to value. You look at what matters to you. You notice what you care about. Your attention follows your values, but your values can also be shaped by your attention. If you give attention to fear every day, fear becomes bigger. If you give attention to mistakes only, shame becomes bigger. If you give attention to progress, progress becomes visible. If you give attention to useful English phrases, your English map becomes stronger. Attention is powerful. In the modern world, attention is often stolen. Phones, social media, news, short videos, messages, and noise all ask for our attention. If you do not choose your attention, other things will choose it for you. A meaningful life needs chosen attention. For English learning, chosen attention means you decide, for these 10 minutes, I listen. For these 5 minutes, I repeat. For this 1 minute, I ask. For this 1 minute, I speak. Your attention becomes a tool. Without attention, practice is weak. With attention, practice becomes deep. The book also talks about belief systems. A belief system is a set of ideas that helps people understand the world. Every culture has belief systems. Families have belief systems. Individuals have belief systems. These systems tell people what matters, what is good, what is dangerous, and how to act. Sometimes a belief system is helpful. Sometimes it becomes too rigid. Rigid means too fixed and unable to change. If your map cannot change when reality changes, you may suffer. For example, if you believe mistakes are always bad, language learning becomes painful. This belief system does not help. You need a better map. Mistakes are information. If you believe I must understand every word, listening becomes stressful. A better map is I can understand the main idea first, then listen again. If you believe I am too old to learn, you may stop trying. A better map is learning may take time, but I can improve. Changing your map changes your actions. This is one of the most practical lessons from a very deep book. Jordan Peterson also explains that when old maps break, people can feel lost. Maybe something you believed no longer works. Maybe a goal fails. Maybe a relationship ends. Maybe a career changes. Maybe you realize your old method of learning English does not work. This can feel like chaos, but it can also be the beginning of a better map. When an old map fails, you can learn. You can ask, what was wrong with my map? What did I not see? What better action can I take? For English learners, maybe your old map was grammar study alone will make me fluent. Then after years, you realize speaking is still weak. This is painful, but useful. Now you can build a better map. Grammar helps, but I also need listening, speaking, shadowing, and active vocabulary. Another important point is aim. Aim means the thing you look toward, the goal you move toward. Peterson often says that what you aim at shapes what you see. If you aim at improvement, you see practice opportunities. If you aim at comfort only, you see reasons to avoid effort. If you aim at truth, you see what needs to be corrected. If you aim at approval, you may hide your real thoughts. Your aim changes your attention. Aim at daily practice. Aim at communication. Aim at courage. Aim at clear speech. Aim at understanding. Then your mind begins to notice useful things. So to listen if this part is simple. Your beliefs, values, and attention shape your map of meaning. Do not only ask what you say you believe. Look at what you do. Look at where your attention goes. Look at what you aim at. All right, let's bring everything together. Maps of Meaning by Jordan Peterson is a deep book about how human beings find meaning, face the unknown, tell stories, understand good and evil, and build maps for life. A map of meaning is not a normal map. It does not only show roads and places, it shows values. Every person has a map. Every learner has a map. Every culture